Welcome, and thanks for joining us today. You're listening to the Women's Broadcast Television Expert Spotlight Show. WBTVN is the all-women's internet television station with content that's created by women and for women, and I'm your host, Shea. Today at WBTVN, our expert is very, very special. So let me tell you just a little bit about her. Caprice Smith is a triple title winner, Mrs. Corporate America Ambassador for 2015, Mrs. Corporate America 2014, and Mrs. Owings Mills. But she is far from ordinary. This retired Baltimore City Police Special Investigations detective and current adjunct professor at Stevenson University teaches homicide investigations. Welcome to the show, Caprice.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, it's a pleasure to have you, and I love all the different things that you have done. Tell me a little bit about your background and basically what got you to where you are right now.
Absolutely. So like you said, I am a retired police detective. I've had an opportunity to investigate many types of crimes, especially sexual assaults, domestic violences, and all of the really important crimes. And being a daughter of Baltimore City, I've also raised in an underserved community in a very volatile household. So I asked myself this question: what was all of this for? All this turmoil and chaos. What are the people like me who know there's so much more out there? What are we supposed to do with all this great energy? So I launched my nonprofit with my husband, and we started to teach other families how to improve their lives, find success, be healthy, be happy. Most importantly, not be so mean to each other. And that led me to be around many other powerful women like myself, and I started mentoring women in business. So I have discovered the art of living successful, and that is to do what you do well, do it often, and to love what you do. So here I am. I am Mrs. Corporate America. I am so many things, but most importantly, I'm just a mother of 4 boys who decided that I want to go out and get the life that I want. And I feel like that message is so important right now that I have to share it. It's a message of living uncommon.
Oh, well, I can tell how determined you are. I love your attitude about grabbing life for what it's worth and living it with joy. And so your nonprofit organization, tell me a little bit about that.
Absolutely. It's called Sharper Minds. And when I started it 8 years ago in Maryland and really across the country, there was no entity, no facility that was facilitating conversations about healthy relationships. So you couldn't talk about domestic violence in church. You didn't really talk about it in schools. And there was an increase in violence among young people. And parents were very desperate. How do you talk to these young people and teach them that what they're being exposed to is not the norm and it's not okay? So my husband and I had many conversations informally. And we said, let's make this thing a real nonprofit so that we can get the funding and get the help and really go into the schools. We've gone into the jails to tell women, men, young boys, and girls, first of all, because there's really no clear definition for dating and domestic violence or even bullying, and now cyberbullying. We're still, as a nation, trying to discover what do we call it so we can talk about it, and then what do we do with it. We just want to do our part, and we realized there was a need there. There was a big hole. Between the arresting process and the actual first assault process, there's a big gap. And we want to get to people before it even gets to their first punch and say, hey, no, let's talk things out. You can deal with this.
Well, I want to tell you that I feel so aligned with what you're doing because I think that there is a big gap. And I don't think that that's just, I think it's in many areas that there's big gaps.
Yes.
And I think that anytime that we reach out, that we want to close any of those gaps because our heart's in the right place, our minds are, at a mindset that realizes that together collaboratively that we can make a difference in this world, and trying to do everything so separately or being angry about how it is, because anger isn't going to get us any place. but we have to learn to love and to treat people like we're equal, because we are equal. And
Right.
I think that, and I think that that's something that's been very missed in our society in general, on a universal basis.
Absolutely.
And so I'm so proud that you've put this together. Now, this is a 50c3
Yes.
nonprofit organization. And so you started fundraising. Let me tell you, I know how difficult that is, because I have a nonprofit organization. And people think, oh, you just put this, nonprofit up and the money pours in. And it's not, it's running a business. It's a full-time business. But I want to be more specific about, because I know that you've been on I know you've done a lot of media yourself. You've been on the Dr. Oz show, and CBS, some of the other national outlets out there, media. And, what is your message that you're really, trying? I understand, closing the gap, but closing the gap how? And what is your mission to be able to do that, to bring people together, to be united so that we can, come together as equals?
Right. That's a great question. You've raised such an important thing that we all can do our own part. So in starting the nonprofit, it led me to women just like me. They had an amazing story. They had all this energy. They were doing many things, but they had no idea how to tie it into a nice, neatly packaged idea and then go out and change the world. I didn't even know what to call myself when I got started. It was through my speaking publicly, nationally, on many different platforms. Like you said, on the Dr. Oz show, on Fox, I'm an internationally syndicated columnist with Women's Voices magazine. But with all those media platforms, my message is quite simple. You have to uncuff. And what that means is take off whatever is holding you back. My story happens to be one of abuse, surviving many types of abuses and being this retired cop, but we all have a story. I don't care if you came from a 2-parent household and every single need was met. There was some point in your life where you felt like you were not getting enough of something. So that leads to your story. So then what do you do with that story? You bottle it in and keep it to yourself and hide behind it like it's a shameful thing and paint on this gorgeous smile and fake it? No, you tell it. You tell it to change someone else, and you let it go. You don't need it. So my message is to do whatever. Like, I flew an airplane to get over my fear of heights. I flew an airplane. Now, the important thing for me is whatever it takes, whatever day it is, at whatever moment, if it uncuffs something holding me back from some type of limiting belief, it has to go. And so that's what I teach women in particular, how to let go all of those limiting mindsets. We tend to stay in one box where we think, okay, so I'm a media personality. I cannot also be a race car driver. You can do any and all things.
and multitask with it. Although, sometimes I think that we multitask too much, especially being women wanting to give so much to our families and to our loved ones and to work and to raise ourselves, up. I definitely understand that part of it. And you're absolutely right. Everybody does, have a story. Tell me a little bit about your story, because you talked to me that you did have some hard times. You didn't grow up in a normal, home. There was a lot of yelling and screaming and crying and function. So tell me a little bit about that and what made you be who you are today. What were the lessons that came out of that? I see so many times people say, I don't want to, because I came from this, I want to be anything but that. And sometimes there's lessons in there. It's good not to want to be, but maybe there's some good lessons there that we do need to kind of take, with us too. And not all of it is all bad and not all of it is good.
Yes. Excellent. So I used to be extremely judgmental of my father. He was addicted to cocaine and dope, and he also drank. He was an alcoholic. But outside of those vices, he was a very abusive person. Mentally, he would physically beat my mom down. I've watched her get beat for almost 20 years. And he was also very abusive to us as minors. So very judgmental because we don't do a certain thing, we sometimes think we're better than people who do certain things. So at 13, I was on my own. My mom found the courage at that point to separate, to leave him alone. So she went to get her divorce, but that displaced the family. I knew I was not going with him at that time. He took the kids. I was not going to be anywhere. I'd rather be on my own. So I stayed with family members and neighbors who took me in on my own. So I was determined not just to not have that life for myself, but to understand why I was implanted in such a dysfunctional environment. And as I started to evolve, I realized that you have a drive in you that's undying. I would catch 3 buses to go to a school just to do something different than all of my peers. I became a teenage mom in that quest to find love and acceptance, but that didn't stop me. I was a mother to an autistic child as a teen. And again, I found myself wondering, is this the end of my story? And it was just one of the beginnings. So I said, it drove me harder. So I learned to operate really well in this system of chaos. And I learned to say, you know what? Not yet. I'm not done. So then I had this American dream. Several years later, I had the husband of my dream and these beautiful kids and a suburb home and a great job. And I had my master's degree at that point. But I realized I was still very much a child, a wounded child. Yeah. And I knew that because my family, they would not get the best of me because I had achieved all these many things. I had all these accolades. I was teaching others how to live their best lives. I would go home sometimes fatigued and tired. Just shut the door. Just leave me alone. I don't want to talk right now. I had no more to give. And I realized I wasn't living. So I did some self-work. Got the counseling, told the story, let it go. And then I realized this is living. I don't have to feel so constricted. I don't always have to be in the mode of helping save the world. They don't need me. There was a man named Jesus who did it. I can't fill those shoes. They don't need me to help that part out. But they needed me to tell my story so that they would know and even have permission to say, you know what? My life wasn't perfect either. My life isn't perfect. And every day, things will continue to show up. But it's the what do you do with it that makes the difference. So for me, what I do is I constantly find ways to stretch myself. Right. My story years ago is not as important to me as my story is right now. My story is right now. We've just opened a new cigar business. Like you said, I've been all over the social media, the actual television, the actual radios, the syndicated platforms. But I also have many opportunities like Mrs. Corporate America to go out and tell the world, you got to stretch yourself right now. Tomorrow isn't promised. And it better be your stuff. And your stuff means if you show up for a television interview where you're going to be seen and you don't have makeup on, you better rock that interview out just as if you went and sat in a chair for 4 hours and got your face put on. When I won the Miss Corporate America pageant, I did it with a dress that I wore 1,000 times. Not that I didn't want to invest in myself, I did, but things did not go according to plan.
Exactly.
So you don't fall
Sometimes
apart.
we have to make do, and it's okay.
It is okay. And people want the realness. They don't want to always show up for this. You can win. Tell a person how to win. You do the self-work. You show forgiveness. You stretch yourself every single day to the point of unrecognized. No one should be able to recognize you. You should never be the same person, right? Always be stretching. But then you leave any room making someone feel different.
Yeah.
On one last point, I know you have to go to the next question is, in criminology, we learned that everywhere you go, you take something with you and you leave something behind. That's called the Lockhart principle. So you have to really decide and shape what is it that you're leaving behind? How are you making people feel? What's your legacy? What's your impression? And then what are you taking with you? Stop carrying baggage around. So that's my platform. I want to change the world by uncuffing a nation of women.
I love that. And, you know, it's so true. I've done a lot of interviews, and I keep saying in them, it just, there just comes a time in our life we're carrying all these heavy bricks around and realizing that we are different every single day than we were yesterday. And especially as we're moving forward and giving back and wanting to make a difference in our own lives and in the lives of others. That's one of the reasons why people write books or go on TV or on the stage, whatever it happens to be, because they have a compelling story that they want to share, and they want to inspire other people to be able to realize that where they are right now isn't where they have to stay. They have an opportunity to, you know, change that mindset and realize that, just like that little engine, I can make it up that hill. And
Yes.
and I will make it up the hill. But we have to really put that desire to want it and really be committed to that plan so that plan can work. And just not when just something easy gets in our way or something big. It's persevering through it all and making a difference in it, because through that we learn so much about ourselves and what we're capable of. That gives us the ability as an expert to be able to move forward and to share it with others.
Yes. That's it. I look at my son, my Andre, my baby that I had when I was a teen, and he does have autism and he's special needs. So they tell us that he would not be able to do a lot of things. Well, he's doing a lot of things they say he would not be able to do. He would never cook. He can use a microwave. He would never be on his own. He lets himself in the house. So I watch him and his drive, and one of the things he does every day is he picks up a book and he opens it up. And he turns the page, and page by page, he's seen the same books 1,000 times, but page by page, as it's turning, you see this look of awe and amazement on his face. And I watch him go through this process daily. He can't read. He probably won't ever be able to know how to read. But it's amazing that he comes home every day and he looks at this book, and it brings him joy. So to me, if he took that, what he does, with what we do every day, is we kind of do the same pattern every single day. The thing is, a lot of us are stuck in very harmful patterns. We're stuck in, I'm going to give 100%, and if one person doesn't say thank you, my world's going to fall apart because they didn't appreciate me enough.
Exactly. And you know what? There's enough that will appreciate us, that should be enough for us. The other things that I want to say is that he may not be able to read, but he knows that story because he can look at those pictures, and he tells himself that story every single day. What a blessing he is to the world.
Yeah, he really is. Yes.
So what can we look for in the future, real quick?
Really quick. So I have an upcoming Women's Uncuffed Colloquium. It's in Baltimore at the Baltimore Marriott Waterfront Hotel, and we're just bringing women in with stories that some have told them, some will be telling them for the first time, but we're all sharing our recipes for success. Mine is uncuffing the mess so you can live your best lives. There will be many, and we're inviting any. You don't have to be from Baltimore. There are many ways to join in virtually. So I want you guys to go over to capricesmith.com and just join us. We're going to have fun. We are shutting down 2016, and we're creating this grand scheme in 2017. I tell what I call them mermaids, because if my ship doesn't come in, I'm swimming out to it, and I'm taking some mermaids with me. So I'm telling my mermaids, join me. It doesn't matter where you're coming from. You don't have to be local. I want us to connect so we can take this world by storm.
Well, believe me, I think if anybody can do it, you can do it. And I thank you so much for being on the WBTVN channel today, our experts spotlight show. And I want to thank our audience for joining us today too. And remember, you can go to WBTVN.TV, and if you're interested in telling your story and being interviewed, you can fill out the form there and we'll contact you. So once again, thank you very, very much for showing. Until the next time, we'll see you soon.
Thank you.